What's up, vape fam? My name is Devin, and today we've got John Barkley, and together we're going to take a quick look, a very general look at the MineModz Lipo box. It's very important to know that you can't just watch one video and then learn everything that you need to know to keep you safe and from catching your house on fire, because Lipo batteries are incredibly powerful. I mean, am I right?
You're right.
So, with that being said, the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the guts. This is the battery. Now this is soon to be a dying breed. So first things first, we're going to take a look. You can see he's got your MOSFETs tied up underneath there, and then down here you've got your LEDs. Bam.
It's very clean.
Yeah, all of his work. And now the LED is really important. We'll get into that in just a minute here. You see, I've got the battery nice and tucked in there. He's rocking the Fat Daddy 510.
That's nice. And that MineTech switch.
Yeah, that's right, MineTech switch. He moved away from the tacticals.
Yeah.
So
I prefer the MineTech switch as well. This is a low profile, but yeah, I do like the MineTech over the BB style button. It's the BB style button tends to hurt my fingers more, but this is a much more clicky, smooth feel.
yeah, a lot of people really didn't care for that. I didn't like it at all. It's the same switch that came on the IPV IPv2, IPv3.
I have girly thumbs and they hurt.
So all right. So back to the LED. There are two ways to read this thing. One, with your RDA not making contact,
Which
you can see it right there.
Which mine does too. And yours has a lot less voltage drop, correct? Under load with the LiPo compared to the 18650s?
The LiPo doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the actual voltage drop. Most of that is your is the gear that's inside the box. You know how many MOSFETs you got running, where you're connecting to the sled at, that sort of thing. The difference between the LiPo and the 18650s is you're not going to get a whole lot of sag, meaning that it's gonna get up there and it's pretty much gonna stay up there until you let off the button. Whereas with 18650s, longer draws, it tends to start to drop a little bit and ramp down. You know, it'll peak and then the batteries will start getting a little bit weaker. At least that's my understanding of it. Atomizer tied all the way down. That's gonna be real-time voltage drop. Without the RDAs is holding 12.1 volts. With it on, you're looking at 10.2.
I think it was 10.5 actually. Check it out. I think it was. Yep.
Oh.
It was reversed in the camera.
10.5. So, and this is really important. With LiPo batteries, if you take them under a certain point, which is 3.3 volts per cell, if you take them underneath that minimum, what'll end up happening is your battery will blow at best. So with the atomizer off, it should never read under 9.9. If it does, you're in the danger zone. And on a LiPo, it'll literally drop from a 10.2 or a 10.3 clear down to like a 7. If you have like a 3 or 4 or 5, 6 second draw, it'll literally kill volts at a time. And that's where the nasty bloating comes from, which is what can encourage a puncture in the battery. And I keep talking about the puncture. The real danger happens when air or oxygen is introduced into the chemicals contained inside of the battery. That's when fire happens. So if you had a 2-cell, you have a 2-cell, the maximum output it's going to give you is 8.4, right? So you don't want to run that underneath 6.6 volts.
Yeah, it's very similar to a dual series 18650, but I mean it's similar. And
18650s they tell you not to take them below 3.2. 3.4. It's pretty much the same thing, except for that it's a lot more static on a LiPo.
I have a question. Does your box get warm as you push it? Like, is it pushing harder when it gets below the 9.99? Is your box going to get warm, or it's just risking the chemistry of the battery itself? I got you. Understandable.
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, with the amount of power that I'm running on this thing, I don't know if it's his custom CNC aluminum box, the housing of it, or what. But the box really, it never ever gets hot, like under any circumstances.
Neither does mine
Really?
at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably what it is. The box just pulling off the heat.
Sure. Yeah, I've had boxes, regulated boxes. You remember my Sigelli 150? That thing used to get hot with certain atomizers attached, like scary hot. The batteries were, but they were 18650s at least. But yeah, there was times where I had to pull it out and then let it rest for a while. But no, this box never even gets warm. And you say yours doesn't either.
Never.
Good.
And the battery doesn't get warm either. As a matter of fact, when I'm charging it, the only thing that gets hot is the charger, which is the next thing that we'll look at. So, MineModz Lipo mods, they come with a very basic charger. It's not really built to balance your batteries out, which is kind of important when you have one unit with 3 different cells in it. What tends to happen is one cell tends to get used a little bit more than the other, or used more than the other. Yeah. So if you do pick up a lipo box in the near future, you're gonna want to look into getting a balance charger. I've been kind of cheating and using my guys' balance charger at the comps or whatnot. You know, every once in a while, just make sure they're all topped off. But I do plan on getting one soon. It's important, and that goes back to the whole charging in series thing. If you know anything about that, if you don't, then we'll go ahead and touch on that now. Charging in series is not necessarily a recommended practice, and that's because charging in series, like with the new RX 200s, you know, you can plug the micro USB into that box all day long. However, it's got a very generic, very cheap balance charger inside of it, and it might not be working properly. Matter of fact, most of them don't. We know because we pull them off and we throw them on 4-bays, and we see a difference in the capacity of each battery. You know, one might read 3.4, one might read 3.6. And in the beginning, that's really not too big of a deal. But if you continuously charge in series like that, and the one is getting used more and more and more, what's going to happen is that cell is not going to hold as much milliamp as the rest. All batteries are rated for 300 charges. That's their average expectancy. After 300 charges, they lose 40% of their maximum capacity.
Wow.
So if that makes any sense, you know, that one getting used harder and harder and harder, it's just not going to hold as much. It's going to drop faster, and especially in a lipo, that's when you can see something nasty happening, which is not something that you want with a lipo. If you haven't seen a video of a lipo go, I'm sure that you've seen videos of the 18650s go. Like, imagine it times 100. These things, like, you can't get close to them.
Kaboom!
Go watch an RC car catch on fire on YouTube. It's literally a meltdown.
And I hit on that before we started this video. I read an article about, you know, lipos are used a lot in the RC world. RC guys, they use it for their cars and their, you know, planes or drones. A lot of these guys will have what they call a bunker box outside of their home to house their lipo batteries, because they take it that seriously. Because it, you know, if they go, it's not a pretty sight, and it could, you know, catch fire to your whole home. So, I mean, definitely want people to be safe here. That's our main goal.
Okay, this is something that's a little bit more intricate, but it's very important. Lipo batteries typically don't come with an amperage limit on them. What they have instead is a C rating. So you can actually Google this. You can Google translate lipo C rating into amperage, or you can just remember what I'm telling you right now. It's measured pretty basic. So this is a 25C battery, continuous, 35C pulse. So how you'll do that is to figure out your amperage, what you'll do is you'll take your 25C rating, which is your continuous, and you'll multiply it by the milliamp of the battery. This is a 1,000 milliamp battery. So 25 times 1,000 comes out to 25,000, right? So what you have is a 25 amp battery continuous. I think it translates 1,000 milliamp equals 1 amp. Okay. So then obviously 35 times 1,000 equals 35 amp. So you have a 25 amp continuous and a 35 amp pulse. And that's just a real basic way to read your batteries. Pulse doesn't mean that you can hold it down. I heard somebody tell me one time that pulse is like 3 fucking minutes. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah.
Typically pulse is like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. So so don't be fooled. Pulse is not to be played with unless you don't mind 4-foot gouts of fire in your face.
Well,
I'm wrapped at like 29 amp. On this mod, I've usually got about 29 amps on it. 29 amp lipo battery burns the hell out of your mouth. Wins competitions.
can I try?
Yeah.
All right. I want to burn the hell out of my mouth. Getting like a champ.
If you've seen any of the other videos, the girls, I don't ever take it into account that the girls that are making the juice review videos with me aren't used to the lipo box.
Pansies.
But if you watch their faces when they hit the green box, you'll know why. Now after watching this video, you'll know why they're cringing.
Woo-hoo, he's pissed off. What do they say, better than pissed on, right, Devin?
That's it. It's all pretty basic, to be completely honest with you, but it's the lack of that basic knowledge that'll get you hurt. So the first thing that you need to do, if you've never done anything like this before, is make it real easy for yourself. If you have a phone or a computer, get online and grab an ohm calculator. I use the Vapor Calc.
I've always used Ohm's law calculator, but it's very similar.
Yeah, the Vapor Calc is just good for, like I said, I work in a shop, so it's got the juice calculator,
Yeah.
the coil builder, and everything.
It definitely does, yep.
So go into your ohm calculator, which is
Okay,
the first one.
we're there. Do we want to do amps, or what do you want to start with?
Well, you can see it's got the volts, the watts, the ohms, and the amps.
Yep.
Just because you're building at 40 amps on your Met tube, don't think that dropping down to 25 on this is gonna make it weak. It's still gonna be twice as hard. So go ahead and put in 25 in your amps box.
Okay.
And on your volts, we're gonna do this not taking voltage drop into account. That's pretty important when you're kind of fresh to it.
And that was 12.6.
12.6. That's all that you need to do is put in the 2.
Okay. So at 12.6 volts at 25 amps, that should be reading at about a 0.5 ohm, and that's going to be pushing 315 watts. Now, you said you weren't taking in voltage drop into consideration.
Right.
Whereas, was that a fresh charge battery when we started?
It's pretty close.
Pretty close, and it's pushing 10.5.
Yeah.
Do we want to check out and see what we're pushing real time?
Yeah, we could.
Okay. So we'll drop the 12.6 down.
Well, it'll be more like 11.
Okay.
11.
We'll just say 11 on a fresh charge at 25 amps. We'll calculate that. Now, I noticed the ohms shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the ohm shifted to about a 0.44 at 11 volts, still pushing 25 amps, and we came out with a clean 275 even watts, which is still a whole lot of wattage.
Ridiculous. I know a lot of you are thinking, well, I have a 200 watt box right here. There's a huge difference. Your 200 watt box is not taking into account the voltage drop, like what we just did, and we lost 30-40 amps, or 30-40 watts.
And I can give a clear-cut example. I have a Cupor Plus, which is supposed to have an output power of 8 volts. I had a 0.25 built on the phenotype, and the most I would push was 6.7 volts, which ended up way less than 200 watts. Brand new high amp, high drain batteries still never went over 6.7, 6.8 volts, which I think ended up being like between 170 and 180 watts. Plenty of power, but no comparison to hitting, an unregulated in series. There's a big difference.
But the difference in the two numbers that we plugged is obviously going to be the ohms. On the original at the 12.6 volts, it was reading out that we need to wrap at a 0.5 resistance. And then once we dropped it down to 11 volts, then it read a 0.44. So if you have a 3-cell battery, this is stupid important. Don't go below 9.9 volts.
Don't do it.
With your RDA off and firing it, and you're reading your LED, don't go under 9.9. If you have a 2-cell, don't go under 6.6. You will damage your batteries. If your battery puffs up, you need to take it to Best Buy. They have like little battery disposals near the front door. That's where it needs to go. Don't use it anymore. Any questions or comments? Drop them below. We're gonna go ahead and throw up the website. MineModz is very much online. He's got parallel series, lipo. He does hydro dip, freaking dye sublimation, like the dude's got it all. He's all over the place. He got voted what, third or
Second.
Second.
Vapin' Fagan voted him. I say top 2, best of 2015 for unregulated mod. Now, I want to touch on Vapin' Fagan only had with the BB button. He didn't have the MineTech switch. He didn't hit on all the customization and the options that were after his review, or I don't know if he got it a long time before.
Probably.
But I really am confident that if he had all that knowledge in hand when he did the initial review, it would have taken first, because the first place you could only get it in black. It didn't have anything, and that's another thing I really love about MineModz. So many options, so customizable. So I feel really proud in saying that I know exactly where this came from. The guy who I got it from. If I have any issues, I can reach out to him.
handcrafted?
Yeah, it's not a Hammond box, so it doesn't have the Hammond lean. It is an amazing. His boxes are amazing.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We're gonna do some safety stuff to keep your ass off the evening news, and and as always, vape strong.
All right.